to help the hundreds of Tyson Foods workers in Van Buren losing their job when a plant closes in May. Thanks for joining us. I'm Darren Bobb. It's a story we first told you about last night in our 5 News at 6. 5 News reporter Catherine Gilker is in Van Buren now with a look at assistance on the way for those impacted.
Imagine waking up for work like it's any other Monday. You pack your lunch, lace up your boots, and head out the door. But by lunch, the gates are locked, the machines are off, and a sign says, "Plant closed." No warning, no meeting, no paycheck, just silence. That's what happened to thousands of workers at Tyson Foods across the U.S. And this wasn't some random business fluke. It's the result of rising costs, high tariffs, and broken promises, especially the one that said tariffs will bring jobs back home. Instead, they pushed jobs away, and entire towns are feeling the burn. Tyson Foods is one of the biggest names in America's food industry. If you've eaten chicken nuggets, sausage patties, or even holiday turkey, there's a good chance it came from a Tyson plant. For many small towns across the country, Tyson wasn't just a company, it was a lifeline. But over the last 18 months, that lifeline was cut. Tyson closed 8 major meat processing plants in 5 states: Arkansas, Indiana, Missouri, Kansas, and Pennsylvania. These weren't small buildings. They were giant factories where thousands of people worked hard every day. And when Tyson shut the doors, nearly 3,000 jobs were erased. Just like that. Take Perry, Iowa, for example. The Tyson plant there employed more than 1,300 workers, which is a huge number in a town of just over 8,000 people. That one factory supported the town's diners, grocery stores, gas stations, and even schools. When Tyson pulled out, it was like yanking the battery out of a flashlight. Everything went dark, and it didn't just happen in Perry. In North Little Rock, Arkansas, over 300 workers lost their jobs. In Corydon, Indiana, more than 500 employees were left jobless overnight. Tyson called it restructuring, but to those communities, it felt more like being abandoned. The worst part? Many of the workers didn't even get a warning. Some got emails the same morning the plant shut down. Others arrived for their shifts only to find locked doors and silent machines. No meetings, no transition plans, just, "Sorry, we're closed." Tyson said the shutdowns were about optimization, making the company more efficient. But there was no plan to build new plants in these towns. No new jobs replaced the old ones. Tyson simply left. Families were devastated. People who had worked there for years, sometimes decades, were suddenly out of work. Rent was still due. Bills didn't stop. And finding another job in small towns like these, that's not easy. So while Tyson moved on, the towns they left behind were stuck. Jobs were gone. Stores were closing. Streets were empty. For these communities, Tyson's retreat wasn't just about business. It was personal and painful. So why did this happen? To understand it, we have to rewind a few years. When Donald Trump was president, he made a bold claim. The higher the tariff, the more likely a company will come into the United States and build a factory. The idea sounded simple. If you tax foreign goods, companies will be forced to make stuff here again. It was part of the America First plan. Bring back jobs, rebuild factories, and stop depending on other countries. But here's the problem. That theory didn't work in real life. Trump put 25% tariffs on imported steel and aluminum. He also slapped tariffs on foreign-grown meat and threatened a 2,000% tariff on cars made in Mexico. Companies like Tyson didn't respond by building new U.S. factories. They responded by cutting jobs and closing plants. Why? Because tariffs made everything more expensive. Tyson needed steel for machinery, aluminum for packaging, and imported feed to raise animals. Suddenly, all those costs shot up. So instead of investing more in the U.S., they cut costs wherever they could, starting with workers. Back in Perry, the damage went way beyond the factory gates. When Tyson left, the entire town began to fall apart. Local diners lost regular customers. Grocery stores saw their sales drop by 40% to 60%. Gas stations closed down. Families moved away to find work. Within 3 weeks, 7 small businesses shut down completely. Perry, once a hard-working heartland town, started to look like a ghost town. There's a law called the WARN Act that says big companies must give workers 60 days notice before a large layoff. But Tyson found a loophole. Instead of sending out letters or having meetings, they dumped the news in late emails, just hours before shutting down operations. That meant workers didn't have time to apply for other jobs, sign up for unemployment, look for retraining programs. They just showed up and found locked doors. While workers were losing everything, Tyson's CEO Donnie King made $12 million in 2024. That's almost 300 times more than what an average plant worker earned. And it gets worse. Tyson received over $250 million in direct subsidies from the government, got more than $3 billion in supply chain support from the USDA, spent $2 million lobbying in Washington to protect its profits and fight safety regulations. So while workers were let go, Tyson's top brass kept cashing checks and calling shots. Tyson's closures also hit America's small farmers. When Tyson said it was optimizing its supply chain, that meant canceling contracts with poultry farmers across the Midwest and South. Suddenly, these farmers had nowhere to sell their chickens. They had to sell their birds at huge losses, auction off equipment to pay back loans, let go of farm hands. Some farms were even repossessed and shut down. Families that had farmed for generations were left with nothing except bills. The tariff problem is bigger than Tyson. Trump's trade war triggered retaliation from other countries. China, for example, stopped accepting shipments of Boeing 737 MAX planes, threatening 40,000 aerospace jobs. Then in a separate blow, the USDA's Farm to School program, which helps schools buy fresh food, was slashed. Schools couldn't afford chicken, eggs, or vegetables anymore. Many had to shrink meal portions, raise lunch prices, cut back on fresh ingredients. Parents and kids ended up paying more for less. Here's a fun name economists gave Trump's approach: the taco strategy, short for Trump always chickens out. Why? Because Trump often made loud threats about tariffs, then backed off when companies complained. He created tons of uncertainty. Businesses didn't know if the tariffs would stay, go up, or disappear. Instead of risking investment, they cut back, moved production overseas, or simply closed up shop. The original idea was to bring jobs back. But what actually happened? Workers got laid off. Towns got poorer. Farms got crushed. Schools got squeezed. Executives got rich. All because of a plan that sounded great but failed in action. The truth? Companies like Tyson didn't want to deal with high costs and policy flip-flops, so they chose profits over people, and the American worker got left behind. If we want to fix this, we can't just shout slogans like "bring jobs home." We need stable, smart trade policies, real support for communities affected by factory closures, honest rules that prevent companies from dodging labor laws, accountability for corporations that take government money but leave American workers in the dust. What happened with Tyson isn't just a meat story, it's an American story. A story of factories gone dark, towns left behind, and big promises that never came true. Trump's tariffs didn't bring jobs home. They pushed them away. And until leaders start listening to workers instead of CEOs, we'll keep hearing more of these stories, more closed signs, more layoffs, and more towns like Perry, Iowa. Because at the end of the day, it's not about tariffs, it's about people.